Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're just waiting for Nancy to come on in. This is Peeling Back the Label. It's an exciting day today. This is my first time having Nancy on the show, so I'm excited. It's her debut book we're going to be talking about. So let me just get her going, and we'll start talking. I keep on pressing go live, but it's just not working. The internet gods are not on my side today. I think it's going to snow here, so maybe that's why. I don't know. Uh, says for some reason you're unable to join, which is weird, Nancy. Thank you so much for being patient with us, trying to get this going with Nancy. Oh, yay,
There
it
you go.
worked.
Yeah, all right.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Good, I'm awesome. How are you?
Good. I'm glad it worked.
Me too, me
Sometimes you
too.
just never know.
I know, I know. It's technology. We love it and then we hate it.
You're right. You're right on the nose. So we're here today to talk about your debut novel. Do you have do you have it in your hands?
Yes, I do.
Look at
Right
that.
here, Solitary
Beautiful.
Doctor. Yeah, really excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. I'm absolutely thrilled.
Well, you deserve it. And, I can't wait to learn all about your book so we can let everybody know that they need to go out and get it.
That that works for me.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Today is your pub day. Is that
It
right?
is.
Yes.
Today is
So,
pub day, right?
yay!
It's this end of a long road, but then it's the beginning of another journey.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's
Mhm.
all the marketing. And then, you have to start writing another book too. You know that, right?
I do. Yes, and I've been trying, believe me. It's been a little slow, but I am committed to getting back to that. Today, I'm hoping is a little bit of a turning point for me.
I'm sure it will. And let's get started. Tell us how you decided to write about this particular woman, what inspired you, and all that kind of good stuff. Your research, maybe,
Hmm
let's get down
hmm
to the nitty gritty.
Wow, where to begin? I wanted to write a novel, and I wanted to write the kind of novel I like to read, which is biographical novels. And so when I was looking for who to have as my subject, I wanted someone that I knew that I would fall in love with and be able to, get inside of for a long time because writing a novel and researching a historical novel takes a long time. And I thought that I might like to write about Mary Shelley because she had such an interesting life. She's the author of Frankenstein. She ran away with Percy Bysshe Shelley when she was 16. But when I was researching her, I fell in love with her mother, Mary Wollstonecraft. And the rest, they say, is history. And so I started researching Mary, and I have probably 8 to 10 biographies, um, memoirs written by her husband, so many other biographies and articles that have information about her written by her contemporaries as well as people who have studied Mary. Mary is considered the mother of feminism, and she lived in the latter part of the 18th century. She's British, and she decided early on that she would never marry and she was going to live by her pen. She grew up in a landed gentry home, but her father was very abusive. Her mother was a very distant woman, and the father squandered the family fortune. And so Mary knew she was going to have to make it her own way in the world. And so researching her took me down so many different rabbit holes, like authors like to say. But my first draft was literally 200,000 words, and a problem, right? But classic rookie mistake. And so I spent a couple of years just reshaping that story to bring it into line with more the typical length of a novel nowadays, which is about 100K. And so I did that, and it fundamentally changed the story that I had set out to tell. But I think where it ended it works well all the way around. It covers a decade of Mary's life, and it opens at the start of her writing career and her rise to fame, and what I call her ill-fated forays into love. Remember, she was an avowed spinster, and well, sometimes life just comes at you, and that happened to our wonderful heroine here. So it is a biographical novel, as I say, and it was very important to me to really honor her history. And so that took some effort, but you also at some point have to put the history aside and tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we take some literary license as historical novelists, and I did that. And I noted things in the author notes and the like, but it is her story, and people will say, I've never heard of her, and I'm like, well, that's why I'm writing about her. She's well known in academic circles, but I want the average person in modern society to know who this woman was, because she really was the mother of feminism, and her writings helped spark the suffrage movements in the 19th century, and then what we remember as the women's movement in the 20th century. So she's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty big deal. She's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She sounds like she's a really pretty big deal, and also it sounds like you have a little romance going in the book. Like it's not just the biographical part. There's some romance. Did you also put in a little spin of your own?
Well, so as I said, it really follows the chronology of Mary's life, but I do have a couple of spins of my own. For example, you can quickly get too many characters in a life like Mary Wollstonecraft's because of just how big she was at the time and since. And so most of the characters are based on the actual people, her contemporaries, and her close associates and so on. But then I do have a couple of composite figures, if you will, to represent Mary's friendships, particularly with women, because I wanted some of those friendships to stay throughout the novel, because the novel actually is told in 4 parts. And so, again, we have to tell a story. And there is where I did invent a few characters. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, to make it a little bit, add a little more, make it a little more interesting. This way, it's just not a biography. You know what I'm saying? It's not like somebody
Oh,
just read, right?
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And what was one of the reasons I picked her is that, you know what they say, truth is stranger in fiction than fiction. Well, it kind of is in Mary's story. She was a brilliant woman who sometimes did foolish things, and so there was a lot to work with in terms of tension and conflict, and bringing in romance as well as this career in writing that she was so determined to create. And so she's a gift that keeps giving to a novelist. Let me tell you.
When you were researching her, did you go to any special libraries, or did you have to go anywhere out of where you live to locate information?
I did not. She is so well documented as a historical figure that I ordered everything that I needed, the biographies and so on. And there's so much available online right now. And
Hmm.
I've been to England. I've been to France. I haven't been to Scandinavia, which is another major setting in this story. But I drew from some of my own travel. And right now, there's just so much available online. You really almost have to be careful, and you have to cross-reference some of what you find, because even within biographies about her, really well-respected biographies, I saw where biographers didn't always agree, dates and spellings of names and so on. And some were very sympathetic to Mary as a figure, because, like I said, she didn't always make great choices. She's a very flawed character, but she's brilliant, and
Hmm.
this is why she was so much fun to write about. And I wanted to present her warts and all, and so the research gave me a lot of different avenues to do that. And in the end, I had to really go with the things that I thought would serve the story.
Hmm.
Because, as I said, at some point in time, you are telling a story. You're not writing a biography. And
Right,
this is
right.
fiction,
Hmm.
right? This is fiction.
Yep, I totally agree. And there's always that one or two, two people that will say, "You got it wrong. It should be this way, not that way." And they'll even say that in fiction.
Mhm.
People will go at the authors.
I know. And I'm just like I'm totally prepared for it. I know it's coming. And I'll say, I did change that.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yep,
Move on, right? I
yep,
mean, you
yep.
can't please everybody, but I'm
That's
sure everybody is going to love your book
thank
and they're going to
you.
be excited to read all about it and learn so much about her. Um, when Tell us a little bit about more about like, okay, this is your debut. What were you doing before that?
Well,
You know,
yeah. So I have a 40-year career as an educator, primarily as a school district, a public school administrator. Started as a kindergarten teacher
oh,
and wrapped up my career as a superintendent and did kind of a little bit of everything in between. And it was just really wonderful. But I've wanted to write a novel since I was in high school. And so I knew that, I would kind of play around here and there with creative writing, but I'm the kind of person who needs sustained time. And when you're writing historical fiction, you have to spend a lot of time
mhm.
researching and you've got to keep your brain straight with all of this. And so when I retired, I set this as my thing that I wanted to do in retirement, and I never looked back. And I hope to write more books. This
Me
this is
too.
fun. I wonder, why didn't I do this in the first place, right?
Well, there's always the journey,
Mhm. Yeah.
there's always a plan that you don't know about. And, you're here, you're writing you already wrote the book, you have things brewing about maybe your next book. You're going to
Oh
be
yeah.
worrying about marketing. So you still have plenty to do and, a long road ahead of you. But it sounds like you got everything under control to make.
Well, I don't know. We'll see. The public's going to have to decide. But I'm a just this lifelong learner. I am a very self-directed, self-motivated person, and I don't have an MFA. I have a doctorate in education, but I didn't really want to go to get another degree. And so when I retired, I kind of did a do-it-yourself approach. I took classes and I went to conferences and I read so many books and I joined writing organizations. I joined critique groups and I just dived in. And being retired really affords me that luxury. I don't know how people who are raising kids and working full time can write a novel. I mean,
I
God bless
know,
them.
but
I
they
couldn't
do.
do it, right? I know,
Or write on the train, or they write when their kids are sleeping. They write at 2
right,
a.m. But I don't know how they do it either because, like, you're just so tired,
right, exactly. And like my administrative career helped prepare me for writing a novel because writing a novel is like a big project management task, right? You know, plotting things out. I'm a plotter, and then I pants it along the way once I'm in the middle of things. But I do like to plan, and you have to be organized, and you really have to think about marketing, even at the start of writing that novel. And
Mhm.
so I try to do things simultaneously, and it's really been like full-time work, but I can walk away from it for the day when I want to as
Mhm.
well. And I do. Sometimes I do.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the beauty of retirement.
Mhm.
It wasn't like there was a specific timeline where, it was in your head where when you wanted it done, so you just take your time, you do it, and it keeps you
Oh,
busy.
yeah. It
You know,
really does.
your
Mhm.
husband can play golf all day and you could write. I mean, I don't know if you're a golfer too, but I'm just saying, um, writing is kind of like your hobby now, and you turned it into something even better than that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hmm.
Um, I was thinking of something when you were talking about author groups.
Hmm.
Um, do you still belong to an author group now? And
Oh, yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I
Mhm.
think more and more authors are realizing that you really need an author group. Like you really need that feedback and that information, and just especially if you're a new author, they kind of need those mentors.
Absolutely critical. And so I was in two critique groups while I was writing. solitary walker. And then when I finished and wanted to start my next novel, I went down to one group, and we are the Scribe Tribe, and
Uh,
three other writers and myself. And last night, my three writing partners hosted my pre-launch celebration
oh,
on
how
Zoom.
cute.
And they've been with me on this journey since day one. And so it wasn't just my celebration. I'd like to think it's our
That's
celebration. We're very
nice.
invested in each other. And I can cry on their shoulder, and I can send them my worst writing. And I know that it'll be handled with care. And I hope I do the same for them. And I think writing associations are really important too. For example, I belong to four. And I'll just mention one,
Yeah.
the Women's Fiction Writers Association. And within that group, there is a historical fiction subgroup that meets every Tuesday, and they are a lifeline. My critique group, my small critique group, helps me write a novel. My hist fic group, as we call it, through the WFWA, helps me and teaches me how to publish and market a novel. And they too have been tremendous supporters. A bunch of them were at my launch last night. And every Tuesday, unless I've got something else going on that drags me away, I am showing up at that meeting because it's just extremely valuable. So having your tribe and then having your network is, I think, a sure pathway to success. I absolutely don't think I would have this novel in my hand without those groups. I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't.
I totally agree, and especially with the historical fiction part. I mean, I'm sure in some groups there might be a whole bunch of different genres, but it's nice to know, you have a group with just your type of the historical fiction type writing, because they've already been there. Most of them have already been there, done that.
Right.
Where a romance novelist might not be able to help you as well as somebody who's already a seasoned, writer with the historical biography and things like that.
Absolutely. There were in two other writing groups that I was in before I kind of brought it down to just the Scribe Tribe, and I loved them. I still had relationships with those people, but they were writing in different genres, and I really wanted to focus on historical fiction because there are certain genre conventions that you want to pay attention to, and you want to be critiquing the kind of books you like to read.
Mm-hmm.
At least I do. At least I do.
Yeah, I think you're pretty much on the money with the same with other authors, that they do want to, have the group with your own genre. And also there might be some times where you branch out, but they want to stick with, they want to stick with their own people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It just works, I think, for really immersing you in your craft. Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Totally agree. Now, what do you read when you're, like for pleasure? Like, say you're going on vacation, are you still taking those kind of books, or are you taking more of like a beach read or something? What do you stick to when you're on vacation?
I'm admittedly pretty one-dimensional. I love biographical novels. I do. To know that these people actually lived and did these things, just it blows me away. I do sometimes venture out of that, and I do like some biographies. For example, I just not long ago read Ina Garten's. Be
Me
ready when the
too.
luck happens. Yeah,
Oh, I
and
love
she
that.
is my
I
gal, right?
love her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was so much fun to read. And there are certain contemporary novels that friends of mine are writing, and I read them, and I think, gosh, I really like these. Why don't I read these more? But I always kind of go back to my
Hmm.
biographical novels. I don't know. It's just my zone.
Yeah, your
My
comfort
zone.
zone, and you might go out a little bit.
Right, right.
I I totally hear you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Now, are you going to be putting your book, will it eventually be an audiobook, or are you just going to stick with the print and the Kindle, or you don't know?
I'm sure hoping it'll go to audio. My publisher sent it off now as of pub day. Then they sent it off to their affiliate for audiobooks, and hopefully someone will pick it up. And I certainly have visions for how I'd like to see that happen. So yes, I very much want an audio book of Solitary Walker.
Now,
I
what do you
don't
mean
listen
by
to audiobooks.
visions? What do you mean by visions? You have
Right.
visions.
Well,
Like, what do you mean? Can you
yeah.
spill the tea or no?
Yeah, no, I can't. So Mary's British, and so I would love someone with that sort of standard British. That it has a certain name. I looked it up. I can't recall what it is right now. But that British, that sort of universal British accent. Just some things like that, and certainly I would like a female
Hmm.
narrator.
Hmm.
Just it's just little things like that.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So, what were you saying before I interrupted you?
Oh, nothing. No, nothing. I don't think I'm saying
Well,
anything in
something
particular.
about the audiobook, though.
Hmm.
Oh,
No.
I'm so sorry. I got so excited. I love audiobooks. That's why I asked
Yeah,
you.
and a lot of people do. Interestingly enough, my mind wanders because they're reading, and then my brain will go, and I'm picturing that imagery, and I'm looking at it, and then they're like two paragraphs ahead of me. So I don't do well with that. But interestingly enough, I listen to a ton of podcasts, writing podcasts
Mhm.
mostly, but some history podcasts and the like too. But I love podcasts. I love nonfiction because I don't have to do all of the work of making my brain show me that story like I do with fiction. So it's just interesting. Everybody's brain kind of has their way, and that's mine.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're getting it made because more and more people are turning, to the audiobook. They,
Very much
they they
so.
really are. It's that go, 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 go era.
Hmm.
And people are just on the go and they'll listen while they're driving or listen while they're folding laundry or,
Hmm.
maybe when they're getting ready for work, that kind of
Right.
thing. So they could squeeze it in because their life is so busy, they don't really have time to just sit and read a book. So they find other ways, but that's just the way life is right now.
I think that's why podcasts are so popular. And
Yeah.
I have to say how much learning I've gotten from writing podcasts and how much they have inspired me because I listen to authors and I listen to craft
Hmm.
shows on writing, and I do it when I walk, and so I'm moving, and
Yeah.
it just I come home so energized, and I'm
Oh, that's
you know, sending
great.
emails to myself of different ideas that are coming as I'm walking, and I love podcasts. I just
Hmm.
I do. So there, the audio sphere, if you want to call that, I think is really pretty
Yeah.
powerful.
Yep. So yeah, it's just that you'd rather sit and prefer to read a book, but you do like listening, but it's other things. I do. I
Absolutely.
agree.
Mhm.
The knowledge that is out there that we have available is just unimaginable. Like when you think about when you were little. Like I
Mhm.
never. I remember saying, "How can they sell stuff on TV? They're not gonna. That's crazy. That's never gonna happen. It happened. Because
Mhm.
you don't realize."
Exactly. Just it's
Mhm.
just when you're little, especially, it's hard to get your head around that stuff.
Yeah. Now they know. Now they're born with an iPhone in their hands.
Absolutely. Mhm.
So where could we find you if anybody wanted to look you up, maybe sign up for your newsletter, learn more about other books coming out? Where could they find you?
They can find me at njmastro, mastro.com.
Okay.
And that is my website. And one of the things that I just would love to tell people about is that this week, with it being launch week yesterday, each day I've had something special. And yesterday was our pre-launch party. But then the day before that, I put together a salon kit for readers groups because Mary
Oh.
Wollstonecraft was of the blue stocking era, and it's when salons were very popular in England and in France. And again, she spent time in France during the French Revolution. And salons were the precursor to our modern day book clubs. And so I put together this salon kit so that it
Oh.
provides readers with, if they want to go deeper into the background of the era, deeper into Mary Wollstonecraft. I bring in lots of food recommendations from England and France and Scandinavia because I love to cook. So it's blending my
Mhm.
passion there. And I've got music recommendations. I've got some bonus questions that are not in the reader's guide in the book. And these are the kinds of things that take a book club into really a deeper conversation around around Mary's time, some of the art that she is featured in, her portraits and the like, and then the things regarding her legacy that she has left behind her and why she's relevant today. So I hope people will
I
come and
love it.
look for that
Yeah.
salon kit.
I
I
love
think
how
it's
you
kind of
called it the
fun.
salon kit
Yeah,
instead of, book
that's
club,
right.
kit.
Right.
I love that
Mhm.
because people will like, what does she mean by that? Well, what's involved in this? So I
Yeah.
love that. And I think book clubs will definitely, gravitate towards your book, and they'll love to see all the suggestions that you offer in the salon kit and the playlist and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not quite a playlist, but there's music recommendations and
Oh,
the
okay.
recipes, just so that people know. There's recipe that runs the gamut from go out to the store and buy this to if you want to do a full-on meal. Here's a recipe. And so I really take into consideration that not everybody likes to cook.
Hmm.
So, have a box of cookies there, but these are the cookies that would tie back into the story.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I got you.
Mhm.
That's nice. So you're catering to everybody,
So
Mhm.
trying. It's because it's the kind of stuff I like to do, right? I like to do theme-based things at book club,
Mhm.
and so it was really with that in mind that we can have some fun
Yeah.
when we discuss these really wonderful books that people are reading these days.
Yep. And I think they get immersed in it more.
Mhm.
Like, when you're doing food and drinks and even sometimes costumes or whatever. I think
Mhm.
it just helps them celebrate the book more and just get more involved and like you said, have a really nice conversation about it.
Mhm. And to a person, anyone who's read like an advanced, copy of Mary's story has said they want to learn more about her, and so I want to make that easy for them. And like tomorrow, for example, my little goodie for readers is I'm posting a who's who in Mary's world, the characters that were in there because she had some very famous people that she ran with. And I want them to see their images. And if they want to do background information after they read the book, not before, because there'll be spoilers in there. But if they want to see what do they look like, I can show
Yeah.
them. I can show them.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm sure everybody's going to love reading this book. They're going to get a nice story. They're going to learn a lot. And if they're a book club, it's even bonus.
Hope so. Hope so. And if I could just mention one more
Yes, of
thing,
course.
is that I also write a blog, and it's called Her Story Revisited. It's on my website,
Hmm.
and it is a blog in which I review biographical novels about famous women from the past. Because I think their stories are our stories. They might have lived 200 years ago, like Mary did, 200 plus, but the same things are relevant in women's lives today. We still are trying to carve out careers for ourselves. We're still trying to raise children. We're still dealing with various challenges in life, whether it's mental health or
Hmm.
dealing with difficult backgrounds that we grew up in and trying to overcome them. These are timeless stories that I feature in my blog, and of course, Mary's was my last um, entry in that, but. I really think it's important for women and men, for everyone, to know our history, to
Hmm.
know what happened before us, because sad as it is, history often repeats itself. So let's not be stupid about it, right? Let's know what's going to come. If we don't
Exactly.
pay attention, this is all
Exactly.
going to happen again in a bad way.
Yes, I totally agree. And she also, helped pave the way for us. I mean, there's some things that would have never have happened if it wasn't for her.
Right.
So, and other people like her. So, we need to learn about that
There,
too.
right. There's a reason people in college today are reading Mary Wollstonecraft.
Hmm.
There's a
Hmm.
reason.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. So thank you so much for writing this book for
Thank you.
all of us laymen out there
Right. This is
who
like,
didn't read about her in
right,
college. I might have, but I don't remember.
right. No, I wanted to make her accessible just to the average person because
Yeah.
not everybody wants to read a biography.
Hmm. Yeah. I totally get it. They need a little pizzazz in there. Hmm. And that's where you
Mhm.
come in.
I hope that's my goal. That's my goal. That's the kind of book I like to read. Remember, I'm trying to write the kind of book I like
Right.
to read, and I'm a voracious reader of biographical novels.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Nancy. I appreciate it. And happy
Oh,
Pub Day again. So it's all,
thank you.
the books are available pretty much everywhere, but
Anywhere online.
yeah,
Yep. All the
anywhere
usual.
online, or go ahead and order it paperback or Kindle. And that's it. We'll have
Yep.
it back on again
Okay.
soon.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks,
Take care.
Nancy.
Bye
Bye.
bye.